So as part of your treatment, we talked about the posture that you've adopted and why this has led to your back pain, and we explained about the compression of the facet joints being one of the causes of your pain, rather than it being perhaps a disc, which people might have said. As we pointed out, these are the facet joints here, so these gaps between the bones here and here and here. So these are where the linkages are between the individual vertebrae. Now, the posture that you're adopting is to sway back in this way, so you're increasing the extension at the lumbar spine here, and that increases this compressive loading on that part of the spine. So if you then were to load the spine from the top, as in with a weight such as squats, with a bar on your shoulders, or by arching back in this way, that's going to further enhance that compressive load in this area, and that can often be the cause of your pain, and the pinching that occurs can be quite uncomfortable. The postures we talked about you adopting to relieve that have the effect of gapping those facet joints and opening them up. So we're now going to show the exercises that we talked about to try and improve this posture here, and therefore gap those facet joints and reduce the compressive loading in this area that might be causing or contributing to your pain. Okay, we're now going to look at some of the exercises we talked about in your appointment for relieving that extension or compressive back pain. The first one we talked about being really helpful when you're in that acute pain state is rocking back on all fours. So you assume this hands and knees position on the floor, like so. It's better to do this on the floor at home rather than the bed, because the bed will be too squidgy probably to do this well. So my hands are directly under my shoulders, my knees should be directly under the hips, feet flat on the floor like so, and then without trying to keep the back straight, you just let the back round itself and take your glutes, your bum back towards your heels in this way. Now we can remember the spine and how we showed how these facet joints in this area will be gapping as we roll back. So this is opening up that part of the spine, and normally people will say with this type of back pain that this is particularly comfortable. So you just rock back with control, and at this extreme position here, hold there for a few seconds, getting that stretch. We're not trying to go back with the back in this position extended here. This sort of extension position would add to the compression of those vertebrae, which could be causing that compressive pain. So we're looking to open those facet joints around the spine and open the back up and feel that stretch in that position. They'd probably suggest you do about 10 repetitions of this every time you do it, but it's not something you want to race and rush to do. By the same note, you would also probably find comfortable to lay back and one at a time just bring one thigh towards your chest like so. It's not advisable to do both together because that can be too stressful, but these sorts of positions are nice to do. Also, you can bend the knees up in this position and then look to do a posterior pelvic tilt, which is a gentle tilt of the pelvis, like so. And what this does is flattens your lower back into the surface. An anterior tilt or forward tilt would create a hollow underneath your spine, like this. So you have a tunnel underneath here. What you want to do is create a flattening of the spine. But the key thing with this that we talked about a lot today was that you make sure that you do this in as relaxed a fashion as you possibly can. So you can probably hear from my voice that I'm not having to change the tone of my voice as I do it, which means that I'm not tensing up through the abdominals. Obviously you would have a pillow normally, so you wouldn't be holding your head in this position as I am, but just gently rolling the pelvis back is opening up the facet joints and gapping those areas where you might be getting that compression. So progression of your exercise is to try and open up this part of the back and to promote this bending or the flexion that we've talked about is now to do a supported sitting position like this. So I'm just perched on the edge of the table here. An office desk would be ideal for this sort of thing, so you can do this at work. My feet are nice and wide apart and the knees are bent. I'm now going to flex from the head So chin to chest, and then progressively curl the spine. And in a relaxed way, just let myself fall forwards to take my hands to the floor. And you can see this is promoting a really strong flexion here in the spine. Now on the return movement of this, we keep the chin tucked in and we maintain the curve of the spine as we raise back up to the start position. I'll just show that again. Chin to chest, relax, just controlled falling forwards, hands to the floor. You can bend the knees a little bit more if you need to do so, that's no problem. What we don't want to do now is as we lift, we don't want to initiate that lift by lifting the head and extending through the spine like so, because that will create the type of pain that you've had already doing that. So it's important to keep that chin tucked in and unravel from the bottom up. So we've just done the position in sitting. As a progression now, we back up into a standing posture. So I'm supported against the door. My bum's just touching the door. My feet, you can see, are a good foot away from the door. I'm going to slightly bend my knees, feet quite wide, and again curl down from the head. So chin to chest, curl the spine. So I'm just keeping the same level of pressure of my hips against the door. And I'm just going to curl down. I can let the knees bend a little bit more if I need to, and take the hands to the floor. So this is now a more fuller extreme flexion than we had in sitting or rocking back on the bed. And then as we return, we unravel again from the bottom up, and the head is the last thing to come up straight. So again, it shouldn't be forced. When you bend forwards, your abdominal muscles should be relaxed. There should be no tension here. We do not need to use the stomach muscles to pull ourselves down to the floor. So bend the knee, curl the head, chin to chest, curl the thoracic spine, narrow the lumbar spine, bend the knees, and reach forwards to here. And then come back up slowly. Progressing on from the exercise we've done on the bed, sitting and against the door, we've also talked about squatting. As we mentioned in the appointment, a lot of people talk about squatting with the back straight, especially if they're lifting weights and extending the spine in this position. There is actually no evidence that that is protecting the back in any way, and with your type of back pain, that's likely to improve is the wrong word, increase the compressive load on your back, which is something we definitely don't want to do. So what we're talking about is, again, following this theme through, allowing the lumbar spine to flex. So as I squat down, feet are nice and wide, put my arms out in front, and then you can see how the lumbar spine is flexing. Keep the weight through the heels, and I can sit into this deep position. And then as I rise up from this position, keeping my chin tucked in, that is all legs doing that work. Now, my understanding of a squat is that squats are supposed to work your legs. Doing a squat in the traditional way, as a weightlifter would do like so, often means that the initiation of the up movement comes from the lumbar spine extensors like this, not from the legs. So if you're doing just a body weight squat, you should definitely allow your back to bend as we did in the first place, like so. So dropping down, letting the hips drop, weight back on the heels, see the full flexion there, and to get up from this position, it's all legs that do the work. And that was the idea of the exercise.